Hi, good morning.
Hello, people. How are we doing today? Thank you so much, Kalawole, for joining us. Thank
Yes,
you.
hi,
All
good
right, so
morning.
we will be starting soon, and I'll be ringing your bud soon in a few minutes. So I just want every other person to join. So
All right.
we are, yes.
Okay,
So we are
so
all on. Hi, good morning.
I
Hello,
also like to confirm. Can you hear me clearly?
yes, I can
And no
hear you.
background noise is filtering
Thank you
in.
so much, Kalawole, for joining us. Thank you. All right, morning. We will be starting soon, and I'll be ringing your bud soon in a few minutes.
Okay. Are there any background noise?
No, please. No, please. I'll let you know if there is any.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Right, yes. Okay, so I just want quite a number of people to girls to come on board so we can all be on the same page.
All right.
All right. Okay, so while we kickstart, can any of the cyber girls tell me what they understand by GRC cybersecurity? Let's start with that. So we can use the chat box, and if you also want, yes. Okay, Shorefumi is saying governance, risk, and compliance. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, that's a beautiful one. All right. So, can anybody else wants to try and give it a try? Tell us what they understand by. So we have the Enugu cybersecurity learners also on board. Welcome everyone. So that's anybody wants to tell us what they understand by that.
GRC.
Okay, so Anar decided to go extra mile by telling us that I'm trying to read that it's an approach towards, sorry, I'm missing it. Okay, it's an approach towards governance, risk, compliance aided by information technology. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful one. All right, so anybody else wants to try? Okay. And if you have done your research well, I'm sure you know that our guest today is a top notch. That's what I'll say. It's top notch, and many thanks to CyberSafe Foundation for giving us this erudite and cybersecurity specialist, GRC specialist. Yes. Okay, GRC Analyst assesses and documents companies' compliance and risk posture as they relate to the information assets. Okay, I'm sure Kolawole is nodding his head in agreement or in disagreement with some of the submissions. Okay, so whether you're right or wrong, well, I'm not going to say, but I'll allow Kolawole to give us exactly what he has. Okay, so while we proceed, I'm going to be introducing our. So if at any point you cannot hear me, if at any point you are stuck or something, just reach out to your SA, reach out to your manager to help you set up. So who is Kolawole Oyedeji? I know some of you might not have done your assignment, so I'm going to help you with that answer. And if there's anything I would say is Kolawole is an adroit information security and IT GRC consultant with over 5 years of experience in information security, vulnerability management, cloud and cybersecurity, PC, IDSS, and blockchain technology. And you may want to say, okay, what makes, okay, so what's so special? Well, okay, so allow me to further submit that it is ISSCA cybersecurity certification, ISO 2701 lead auditor and lead implementer, lead risk manager, certified data protection officer, blockchain technology, and many more. His work experience over the years spans real estate, property development, electrical installations and wiring, information and cybersecurity. And okay. I know this is just an aside, but Kolawole, can you, before I dive into our real questions, so to speak, electrical installations and wiring, information and cybersecurity. Okay, so can you, I don't know, maybe in just a few words, so that they can hear your voice, can you just tell us, like, what's the connection? What's, like, in 10 seconds or less? What's the connection? What's the drive? Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Divine, and everyone else joining us for this session.
Sorry, I needed to say this. My bad. I didn't introduce myself. I am Abisoye. Yes. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay, so you can address me as Abisoye.
All right. That's great to know. Thank you so much, Abisoye, and every other person joining us on this session. Thank you for having me. My name is Kolawole Oyedeji. I hope that's clear enough.
Yes, that's very clear. Thank you.
All right. So, just to quickly respond to your question. So what you actually asked is actually based off from my, my past experiences, before I got into the field of information and cybersecurity. So I once had experience in, it was more like a family business. So went to related and all of that. Then I also have experience with electrical and electronics installation because I have foundation, or should I say I have, so I have more like foundations in electrical electronics engineering. So that was the reason why I had to also capture that in my brief. I hope that's clear enough.
Okay, thank you so much, Kolawole, for that background information. Yes. All right, so allow me we will be diving, properly into the questions very soon. And if there's anything I want to establish, especially, for the girls and every other person, is that GRC is also it's related to IT security audits in cybersecurity, because some of them are like, what is GRC again? I mean, these are not the parts that I've heard over time. But I mean, what is governance? So what does it have to do with cybersecurity and all like that? So we have you here. So maybe after this session, I might, it might spur an interest, for me to actually also dive into this area, because personally, I'm a bit skeptical about that particular area. So I hope that you are prepared to have us today. All right, so starting properly. Sorry, I need to. Okay, I can see so many questions already. If you have questions, you can drop them. I can see some questions on YouTube. I can see some questions here also. So don't worry. You are covered. You're covered. Your questions, I'm sure Kolawole is ready to take every question. Maybe not all, but at least quite a number of the questions. So Kolawole,
Sure.
I would like to ask
Okay.
ask a question. Please, can you walk us down your career journey? Were there challenges around the way? How did you transition into governance, risk, and compliance? I think this has, it's actually similar to what I asked earlier, but now in a broader sense. Can you tell us, how did you go from here to here? Why? What was it, quote unquote, was it SACPA that, pursued you into that path, or you just felt like, oh, GRC, let me jump on? So would like to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much once again, Abisoye. Okay, so like you mentioned, that is actually closely related to the initial question you asked, right? So, and I'll just quickly run through that. So, like I said earlier on, I actually have a background in engineering discipline, like I once mentioned. So to be specific, electrical, electronics, engineering, right? To be more precise now. But before then, I also had, I was privileged to have hands-on experience in area of A+, that's which they popularly known as computer engineering, where I was able to learn, hands-on skill when it comes to computer systems, hardware, software, installation, and all of that, system configurations, how to dismantle and assemble systems, right? So that was just following immediately after my O-level education. So yes, at that point, I was also able to learn on what is called CLI command. That's Microsoft DOS operating system, that is called MS-DOS, right? So that was just following after my O-level education then, before I got admission into the university to actually study electrical electronics engineering. So then fast forward to, after school, NYSC, after NYSC, then, work of life, go through certain stages. Then my path actually crossed with somebody who happens to be my boss now in digital and code. All right. So you can see that clearly.
Thank you so much for that.
So you see that it was SACPA that chased me here.
Okay, yes, you've established that. And thank you so much. Okay, so that was a beautiful one, and I think I get that. So what is governance? That's the next question. What is governance, risk, and compliance? Who is a GRC professional? What does this role entail? Mm-hmm. And what is a typical day in your career? Now, I mean, these questions are already infused, but I want you to please break it down. Like, okay, what is governance, risk, and compliance in the first place? What is GRC? Who is a GRC professional? The career path. Then who is GRC professional? Now, what does this role entail? Like, what is it about? And you as a GRC professional, what is a day like in your career path? Thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right. So maybe I should approach that in this manner. Instead of fusing them together, I can do my best to sort of break them down to the barest minimum. Is that fine?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. So when we talk about GRC, I think it's more of IT GRC, that's meaning IT governance, risk management, and compliance, right? So then I can say in very quick words that an IT governance has to do with, or let me say governance in general has to do with the directing and controlling of the affairs of an organization. So usually the highest level of authority or leadership in that organization is responsible for setting the strategies and objectives in every enterprise, right? So that is where governance comes in, which means managing the affairs of an organization, or putting some sort of structure around the processes and activities of an organization. Is that clearly spelled out? Okay, then the next, I would like to, I think the next would be risk management. So risk management is in every enterprise, or even in the life of an entity, because you can actually have every day in life is a risk, right? We all take risk, either personally or as a business. So, but in business, it is called risk and opportunities. So in business, for every opportunity you see to take advantage of, there are attendant risks that you will come across. So I would like to just say that basically, risk management is a process of identifying, first and foremost, your assets as at an organization's disposal. Then also identifying the vulnerabilities, which I could also break down to say the weaknesses around those assets. Then you also have to be able to identify who are the threat agents, such as hackers, that want to take advantage of or that want to exploit the weaknesses around those assets for their own advantage or for their own personal gains. Now, the last part will be compliance. It's a process of monitoring and ensuring all the processes and procedures in that organization are actually in alignment with the organization's policies and statutory laws and regulations. It could be regulations of within the industry or even the organization in itself. So now, putting together, I'll just say that it is required to actually to set direction and orderliness in how the things are done in a structured manner across the entirety of that organization. Now, that being said, in short, in a very summarized manner, I would like to just say that a GRC professional is an individual whose core objective is to improve the effectiveness of the business processes, manage risk, and enterprise systems within an organization. So typically, you are required as a GRC consultant to provide support and advisory role in to clients and understanding on understanding and mitigating the everyday risk that the businesses are exposed to. Okay, then I think the last question was, or the last aspect of that question was, you were asking to know a typical day, right? A typical day in the life of a GRC consultant. Am I correct?
Yes, you are. You're correct.
Okay, so that last bit would be that typically, so depending majorly on the project that I am working on or that the person actually working on. So you are required to engage clients on a daily basis to understand problems, issues they're facing as a business and how you can come in. Then in some cases, you might also be carrying out like an audit of the systems or even their processes. Then typically too, you might also need to like customize documentations or review and update documents, manage organizational policies and processes. So that's a typical day in the life of a GRC, IT GRC consultant.
Yes, okay, now that's quite a lot. Let me take a deep breath so I can digest. I'm sure the fellows also agree.
I'm sure you can, people can actually comprehend this if they put everything together.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that because you tried as much as possible to even simplify it, and that is
Exactly. It's
yes.
easier for
Yes. I
everyone
mean,
to
in the next 2 minutes, I can just become a GRC expert with everything you with everything you said
a whole lot
already.
of work. Yeah, I know. Nothing is impossible though, but it's a whole lot of work.
All right. Yes. Okay. So next question: what is the process for performing audits? Can you walk us through and share about any standard steps, processes, methodology, and approach or frameworks that you follow? Did you get the question, or you want me to cover it again?
Yeah, I think I got your question. So
Okay.
you want me to run through audit procedures
Yeah.
or processes for which we engage clients in an audit and all of
Yeah.
that, yeah? Then steps and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So typically, I think first we even need to understand first and foremost, we need to understand what an audit is. So on the average, the usual practice used to be more like a police and thief situation. That's the reason why when you go to enterprises, you see that auditors are, I mean, they are dreaded. Most other process owners they don't like seeing the faces of auditors. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, you're audible. You're very audible. Yes.
Okay, all right. So I was giving it, hello.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I was just saying that I was giving a background to what an audit is. So quite unlike what we used to have in traditional auditing. So in this era, it's more appropriate to say an audit is basically a systematic and a structured way of carrying out an assessment to obtain audit evidence that you require which you require for evaluation against an audit criteria. So to determine which will aid you to determine the extent to which that audit criteria is actually being fulfilled. Now I can explain that. So what is an audit criteria is maybe, let's say, something that you're benchmarking against. It could be the policy of the organization, it could be a procedure, it could be a standard, it could be a framework that you're actually benchmarking against. So you go through a process of carrying out an assessment for which you obtain the objective evidence. You now benchmark that evidence against the audit criteria so that you're able to decipher what is the extent to which that evidence is fulfilling the audit criteria, to ensure that the process owner is not deviating from what the policy has been established in that organization, right? So then I think the next I could say in that space would be that typically there are three major stages or three major aspects to it for a typical audit. So the stage one would be the audit planning phase or the audit planning stage, then which comprise of you putting together all your audit universe, which usually would contain all the business processes and documentations you actually planned out to be audited, right? Then just immediately after that will now be the audit field work, which the next stage will be the audit field work. That is a stage where you now go into the actual field audit, where of course with your audit resources, that means the persons now go into the different process owner space and begin to ask the auditees what they do, how they do it, and of course you now also observing the objective evidences which they're providing to substantiate the fact that they're actually carrying out those processes in line with the laid down policies and procedures of the organization, right? Then the last phase or stage of an audit will now be reporting, or you call it audit follow-up and tracking. So that is the phase where you submit, after your field work, you submit all your reports based off from all your reviews and benchmarking with your audit criteria and everything. You submit your report. Then the last phase, you now go into what is called a follow-up, to track closure of those gaps that must have been identified in the course of your audit assessment. I hope that's clearly got spelled out.
That was a beautiful one. Thank you so much, Kolawole. You're doing a beautiful job, simplifying these things and ensuring that we get them. Okay, so I'm going to give the fellows a task now.
Well, I don't know if I've spoken to this. There's one other aspect that I haven't touched on.
Okay.
That's a type of audit. But so in broad perspective, you could have internal and external audits.
Okay.
Right. So, but generally now, different kind of audits you could have, it's inexhaustive, but I mean, I can just mention a few. So you can have things like a risk-based audit, you can have a system or IT-based audit, you can have financial audit, which most people are quite familiar with. Then you can have a compliance audit. You could have what is called a forensic audit. You also have process audit or administrative audit. So whatever the case is, they all fall within the bracket of either an internal or external audit. Then you can also want to maybe say some of the steps required, like I mentioned earlier, planning. So you also have to assess the risk which you are bound to encounter in the course of carrying out that audit. Then you also evaluate what are the internal controls within the organization. Then you also need to look at you also need to carry out what is called audit testing. Then you now have the final, which is now step, which is now the audit conclusion or reporting / the tracking phase of the audit. So that's just that's the simplest. I think I can break that down.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to give the fellows a task now. So in the chat box, I want you to show that you're actually listening in. Can anybody, again, I'm going to do it this way, the first person, and you will be the one to pick our winner also at the end of the day. And all right, so can you just list the processes? Just, itemize the processes that Kolawole has helped us with as regards IT audits. So let's see the first person to do that, and also the types of audits that you mentioned also. All right, so thank you. Let's forge ahead because we do not have much time. So Kolawole, what is the most challenging part of your job, and what do you find most interesting about your job? So that's like two sides to a coin. The most challenging part, and what do you find necessary?
Okay. Most challenging part of my job. So you'll agree with me that every endeavor comes with unique hurdles.
Definitely.
Right? So then I'd also like to say that our job is really demanding. Really demanding. So, but in all, I see this personally now, I see this as a life dedicated to serving humanity and businesses with your acquired skills, right? So first, you need to understand clients' unique challenges, right? Then you need to understand clients' business model. Then you also need to understand, you also need to be able to analyze those issues or challenges based off from your knowledge around information and cybersecurity issues, right? Then what else comes to mind? Then you also need to, from your knowledge base, you also need to creatively provide appropriate fix or resolutions to those issues. So in cases where investigations or an assessment of forensic analysis is required, you should also be able to do that to come up with an output which leads to the root cause of those issues, and also be able to provide lasting resolution at the end of the day. So then you also need to, you need a whole lot of study on a daily basis. You are required to stumble on materials, read this, read that, and all of that. So more like skimming through materials on a regular basis. Those are part of some of the things we go through on a daily basis.
Okay, so the second part, what's the most interesting parts of your?
Most interesting part I like to say is the fact that it gives you a platform, or I would say avenue to broaden your knowledge on a daily basis. So the thing is, in cybersecurity, there is no limit to your scope of study. There is no limit. And you also want to agree with me that knowledge is one of the I would say most prized possession on earth. So you're actually enabled to empower yourself knowledge-wise on a daily basis. It's an interesting aspect, I tell you.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so as a cybersecurity fellow who is just about to kickstart, my career in cybersecurity, how would I know if this career path is a great fit for me?
How would you know if it's a great fit for you?
Yes.
I would liken that to be more of a personal question. So first off, you need to establish if you have interest in this, as in, can you really go all the way to pursuing your interest in this? Then your passion and motivation also counts a great deal. So, in this generation, I like to just say this, you can't just go for the money. Of course, it's a perceived area where, it's an area where people all over the world, they perceive that it's money spinning, yes. But I can tell you that you can't just go for the money. You have to factor in the demand as well. So then, as a matter of fact, money only comes in, money only follows service delivered or value add. It is not automatic. Believe you me, it's not automatic. So yeah, your passion and all of that, your motivation in life and everything, all of that counts a great deal.
Okay. So you're saying that there is money, Abi?
Well, I can say that relatively. Of course, there's enough money to pay your bills. To pay your bills, yes.
There's money. Fellows, there is money. Please,
there is enough to foot your bill.
There is money. Okay, I think that's like the issue that's ringing in my head now. There's money. Okay, all right. That's just by the way. Don't do it for the money. Okay, yeah. Maybe do it for the money, but allow your passion to follow you. I think that's okay. So moving on. What is the most challenging or intriguing project or experience you've ever had in your career, as a GRC professional? And what did you learn? Of all these challenging, you mentioned that there are definitely challenges. What was the most challenging, or the part that you found very, very intriguing? Like, wow, this is, so would you like to share with us, and what was the experience like, and what did you learn? It doesn't have to be, positive, it could be negative, it could be positive, but what's it that you learned? Thank you.
Yeah, so to that question, I think the quickest one that comes to mind was a particular project that I was a part of in 2018. Yeah, so it was actually called remediation of enterprise vulnerability and penetration test project for one of the tier 1 banks in Nigeria. Now, so at the time, some of the tasks required us to work on systems, databases, Windows servers, Linux servers. And so for those who are actually familiar with what is called a Linux server, it's a, I would say it's not a regular system environment. It doesn't come with any GUI. It doesn't come with any form of graphic user interface where you can click on icons. It is purely dark screen, background, and environment. And all you just do there is you run commands, and you see the system carrying out, executing your commands afterwards. But so the I think the interesting aspect as a then was that at that time, I actually thought that my skill in terms of running CLI commands had gone rusty. However, when I had to run command on certain server, due to the fact that it was near obsolete and all of that back then, the power required to process that task and to produce the output was heavy on that server at the time. So that particular server actually shut down abruptly. And you can imagine having to work. This was actually in the middle of the night, having to work with having to run CLI command on a Linux server. It's around say around 12 1 a.m. It was an enterprise system, and it was over a weekend. So they hadn't even done they hadn't taken their backup for the week yet, but we had to remediate that server and get it ready for them to actually work in the course of the following week. So when that happened, my colleague that was working with me at the time, started. He started fidgeting. I just had to calm him down. Then so we took time off and walked away from the system. Then after a while, I had my head refreshed, so I came back. So then we got back on the system, continued running the commands. Then we were able to revive that system. So I'm not saying a user system, right? I'm saying a server that is an enterprise server that the entire business processes rely on to fetch and to actually carry out their operations, right? So it passed out, and that is actually not even part of that's actually way off from the normal GRC task of reviewing documentation and all of those things, right? But at the end of the day, we're able to smile uncontrollably over that particular system because we're able to revive that system back. If not, that business won't be able to function from the following morning. So we're able to resolve that over the night. Then I think another one that quickly comes to mind was also working with another tier 1 bank in Nigeria. So I could recall that my colleague and I that worked on that project at the time, this wasn't really a technical aspect, but more of the GRC task that we had to carry out. So we had to work, we had to pass nights on that client site with our suit and tie and everything on, just to be able to birth the magic the following morning. So those are some of the very funny and intriguing moments that I could remember from top of my head at the moment. But then the lesson learned in the course of all of that is that persistence is also a virtue, so that you might also want to imbibe. All right, that's about it.
Okay, so someone said that she was just start crying. I'm sure you didn't cry.
Never, I don't have to cry. But of course, emotion doesn't come in at that level. You have to just get yourself to work.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because emotion would not actually solve the problem.
Solve your problem.
Yes.
You have to delve into critical thinking.
Okay, I can see some questions, but I asked them already here. So I'm seeing them and merging them and all. So if you notice that a question has been answered during the course of it, then I think we are good to go. Okay, so what are the skills required to break into this field and excel while in the field? Are there job opportunities? It's one thing to say GRC. It's another thing for me to know that, okay, once I maybe try as much as possible to venture into the field, then there are opportunities waiting for me. I mean, what's there for me? So do you mind telling us what skills are required? What things I need to get in place? So that's it.
All right. So typically, so I think I should just start off saying this. There is depth of skills that is enormous. There's that of skill, and of course, there's enormous void to be filled in information and cybersecurity space world over. And it's been on the increase with the proliferation of information technology, everybody now lives within the virtual space, which is the internet now. So either you like it or yes, even businesses now have to get into get into the internet, be able to fulfill one or two requirements and processes, or even be able to deliver value to their teaming customers, right? So having said that, as an entity, as a person now, you would most likely require things like being analytical minded. You also require technicals, which I might not be able to go into every one of them at the moment. Like you've heard me say that I was able to run a CLI command, and I'm also able to take on tasks when it comes to a typical GRC task or engagement. Then also things around project management skill as well. That is also in addition to transferable skills that you also require, which is talking about things like communication, being able to communicate effectively, both oral and of course written. Then your adaptability, being a team player, and all of that. So the list is inexhaustive. So depending on your personality now and what you think you can actually take on. Some people are more predisposed to limiting themselves to having technical skills alone. Some usually want to just focus on the GRC aspect, which is just talking about processes, policies, and all of that. Do you understand? So depending on what you think you're able to take on. Did you get that?
I can't, I'm having difficulties hearing. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, yes.
All right. Thank you so much. I think I lost for a moment. I'm sorry. Okay. I think that was network trying to show itself.
Okay, you want me to run through that question again, or?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I read to the very last. It was just at the point of stop that. Yes, I'm so sorry about that. Okay, thank you so much for that. Yes. Okay, moving forward. If someone here, someone on the call wants to start out in a role as an information systems auditor, what are the other InfoSec roles or paths that they can pivot their careers to after some years? For example, I might just want to start out as an information systems auditor. Are there similar roles? Do you get, are there similar roles that, I can just navigate to, and then I don't have to struggle with, another new face entirely? Of course, every path has its unique features, but exactly. Are there similar, maybe, yes, that I can just, I just want to take a break from GRC, or I want to explore in that part. Are there, can you give us maybe one or two?
Okay. So, like I said in my last question, so while there is while we have massive opportunities within the information and cybersecurity space globally, right? So there are aspects which I know that you can actually pivot into from being an IT auditor. So maybe along the line, depending on what that person is actually looking out for, you might want to be a freelance auditor. You might, instead of consulting, you might also want to via into maybe you want to probably be a trainer, an independent trainer, or even a lecturer. You can also lecture in universities in the space of cyber information and cybersecurity. And of course, there are also, owing to the new and emerging technology that we're also around the world. So things like IoT are also springing up, blockchains, robotics, and all of those platforms. You might also want to learn, pick knowledge on how to audit some of those platforms as well, depending on what the person's, individuals' choices are.
Okay, so that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, so I hope we are all listening in. All right, so we can also write down key points, key takeaways from each of these points, because I am learning so much as I'm starting, I'm trying to, you can see that I'm trying to scribble down things myself, because I must not go the way I came. I must not go the same way I came here. All right. Yes. Okay. So what next? What's next for you in your career? I mean, do you want to, take some? Do you want to start taking 6 month vacation twice a year, or is there anything new and exciting that you look forward to?
Really, it's not yet time to go on such long vacations. We are still in our prime, and of course, within the time frame when we are actually required to work harder. So, but for me, I think at the immediate, I still look forward to auditing things like blockchain nodes, AI platform, robotic platforms, and maybe IoT systems and all of that. So that's within the space of auditing. So I look forward to getting involved in such audit as well. Then when it comes to learning, of course, there's no end to learning. So it holds, a whole lot of other things that I'm actually looking out to learning. Learning never ends.
Learning never ends. I think that is like I think you have been
from cradle to grave. Learning never ends.
I think you have been very, you've said that quite a number of times now, and I can just say that, can you hear me? I think I'm having difficulties. My system is, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, yes.
Okay, all right.
I can hear you.
All right, yes, I'm so sorry about that. It's cracking on my end, and I don't know why.
Okay, I think that might be owing to network.
Yes. Okay, it's back and better now. Yes, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I just want to be sure that everybody can hear me clearly.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so moving forward, if you could have done something different, from being a governance or GRC professional, what would it be and why? I mean, you could have decided to explore other parts, and it doesn't mean that you are not, well grounded in other parts also. But if you wanted to switch, maybe cybersecurity entirely, but then GRC, if you wanted to tour another part, what path would it have been?
All right, thank you so much, Abisoye. So personally, I think I would have rather been a telecommunications engineer, because from my background, so you could have you have two broad aspects in electrical electronics engineering. So my major then was telecoms and electronics option. So I would have rather been a telecommunications engineer if I wasn't in the field of information and cybersecurity. Then at some point too, my parents actually wanted me to be a naval personnel, because in fact, I had my primary and secondary education in naval barracks, somewhere here in Lagos, around CBN Estate. So, and at the time, my uncle had already put all the plans in place. But because personally, I never liked the stereotype life in the military, so I declined. Although at some point too, I also had interests. It might also interest you to know that I had once applied in aviation school in the past, but that didn't work out. So those are the kind of things that actually areas that I actually had interest in. Yep.
Okay. So this is just an aside. I always wanted to, go into the NDA myself. I know. Okay. I love the army, and or more of the, I don't know, the Air Force. Yes, and it was just because of one reason. Okay, or two reasons. Number one, their uniform.
All right.
Full white neatness, very nice, well ironed, starched, looking like. And then Another reason was because, I hope nobody laughs at me, it was because I wanted a military wedding. So,
Really?
yes, I think it just sparked my interest. I just wanted to, the
Usually,
glamour.
all the gun salutes and everything.
Yes, I just
Parade.
wanted to have, plenty bikes in front of us as escort,
Yeah,
then
I
shooting
can
in the
imagine.
air. I'm
I
sorry,
can imagine.
I don't even know where that came from, but apparently it didn't happen. So, like, here we are. Who knows? Anything can still happen,
Yeah, it's still possible.
Yeah, so
Military
definitely.
personnel.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Okay. So
Pleasure.
yes. Okay. So we are getting, we're moving gradually to the end of the section. I'm already taking some questions. So yes. Now, before we close and all, what advice would you give the fellows that you wish you knew earlier before you started your career? Yes.
Advice.
Yes.
Advice I can quickly say to that is, so this is actually not, this has not been the norm with this current generation, but I can make do to say that get mentoring for all aspects of your life, spiritually, career, finance, and all of that. Get mentoring. Then you also need to focus on specific area, not just go with the trend. Some people, what they do is, oh, this is trending today, they go in this direction. Tomorrow, that is trending. No, get a specific focus area that which you have passion for, which you have, and be committed to that. Then also get relevant knowledge from appropriate channels or appropriate sources. That's just how I can just cap that. Hi, Abisoye.
Yes, I wanted to. Yes, all right. So thank you so much. Get mentoring. I mean, it shows that these fellows are actually actively listening in, because every point you have made, they tried as much as possible to highlight them. I think that is good mentorship. Okay, so okay, do you have a mentor? I think that's, you're all grown. I'm sure you have people that you mentor, but do you have a mentor? Did you have someone put you, like I would like to know.
Yes, I do have people who mentor me in different aspects of life. I have people that I look up to.
Okay, so you're saying that you have quite a number of them, role models, mentors, people. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'm going to take just about 2-3 questions from the chat box, although we've been able to answer quite a number. So, okay, someone would want to know. Okay, I think you already mentioned that. What are the necessary certifications? You answered that in one of your questions, right? Yeah. So, okay, someone wants to know if they can work remotely.
But that aspect of certification wasn't really granular. So probably after of this session, we can maybe go into details of some of the certification you might require.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so someone wants to know if a GRC analyst can work remotely.
Yes, sure. You can check online. Such roles are required everywhere around the world now. You can check that online. You can work remotely.
Okay. All right. So all right. Can you please tell us the salary range of a GRC expert in Nigeria and in diaspora? And how easy is it rather to get into GRC entry level? Yes. And okay, let me take this other one also so that you can just, what kind of organizations take GRC analysts?
Basically from IT driven organization, every enterprise that actually works with IT systems, telecommunication systems and all of that, and also require effective processes to be established in the environment, they require the job of a GRC personnel. So from telecom to IT based to professional firms, even law firms these days, they also require input from GRC personnel internally to help manage their processes and of course systems. So because when you talk about IT systems or even security generally, so you'll be looking at majorly three major aspects. Every system looks at as a cybersecurity personnel and GRC, you have to have knowledge around network security, system security, and application security. Those are the three broad aspects which you'll be looking at as either as a GRC personnel or as I would say as an ethical hacker if you're dealing majorly around technical competencies.
Okay. All right. So
yeah.
I think you have answered many of these questions. I'm trying not to, repeat the questions. Okay. Someone wants to know if a law student pivoting into cybersecurity can also go into GRC.
A law student?
Yes.
Yes, sure. But like I said, you must be able to match the demands of studying, or it takes a whole lot to actually pivot from a non science background into such areas. But I can tell you that it is possible. I've seen and I've worked with people who actually did that. So it is possible. It depends on your willingness to actually to take on the demands.
Okay. All right. So the other time I asked about the salary range, that someone wants to know what the salary range is like. Although I personally would not want to, because since time changes, season changes. So it could be this today, it could be that tomorrow. But then what would you say about that?
There's for me, I don't think there's actually a fixed salary. However, it depends on
the organization.
So the organization in question, one. Then two, there's also like an industry baseline. Then also your power of negotiation also comes in.
Yeah.
Your power of negotiation based on what you're bringing to the table also happens to be a determiner of what you might be earning at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. Thank you so much. We've had such a wonderful time with you, Kolawole. I mean, I think this is one of the, I'm sure the fellows also have the same thing to say. Okay, so before we round off finally, what do you do for fun? Like, if you are not governancing and risk compliance.
Compliance.
Yes. What do you do for fun? Or do you fight taekwondo or karate since you wanted to go into the army?
So, I would have been a military personnel, like a naval personnel, but I don't like this. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I didn't like the stereotype life in the military.
Okay, that's fair enough. So what do you do for fun?
To answer your question, maybe I should also seize this time out to establish this fact that I'm a church boy. So the church is my club, right?
If you're not compliancing, you are church.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying that I'm a church boy. My club is the church. So meaning that I don't go around hanging around or going clubbing and all of that, right? Then I also do a bit of exercising here and there. Like in my house, I jump rope, I do road walks, and sometimes too I can also seek avenues to make use of the gym when time permits me. Then I also do a bit of movies, right? Then I also hang out with friends at fun places. from time to time. Yeah, that's about the triangle of my life.
All right. Okay, so are you open to LinkedIn connections? I mean, they would want to send you, I'm sure the fellows will want to send you connection requests on LinkedIn, to be able to be part of your network. So,
It's a problem. I'm open to that. I'm open to that.
All right. So just your name and then. Okay. So fellows, you can connect with Kolawole on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can also, Kolawole Oyedeji. Yes.
Sure.
Yes. So thank you so much. So at this point, I think we'll be bringing this a day in a live session to a close. I mean, I'm sure we had a particular time frame, but then we overshot our time. First, I apologize for that. But I really want to say that despite that, you took time to break down these questions and, bring out the depth in each of them. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the knowledge that you have shared with us today. It was very informative. And we hope that, in the long run, for as many people that would want to, dive into this field, they would see you as someone to look up to and also learn from your many resources. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kolawole. Yes. All right, fellows. See you the next. All right. Do you have any parting words? Let me just say that so you don't, anything, Maspire to Maguire, anything at all that you want us to just take. If there's one thing that I've taken away from this session, you, Amarjon, is the fact that we should never stop. Learning never stops. And it does. Another thing that I've learned from life is that people say, maybe as a joke, but it's something that it has struck me over time, that learning only stops the day that we die. Exactly. So it's a lifelong process. If you want to be a walking dead, then stop learning. But if you want to continue evolving and becoming better at what you do, then you should keep learning. So yes, okay. Are there any final talks?
I think you've actually helped to recap on my final and parting words. So I'll just say on that, thank you so much for having me. Like Abisoye had said, let's keep learning. It's a lifelong process from cradle to the grave, right? So you can't, and of course you cannot overemphasize on such, right? So let's imbibe that as a culture and as a way of life. All right. So thank you so much for having me on this platform. I mean, you've also, and of course, expanding our community with this. So like I said, I'm actually open to those LinkedIn connections. Let's see how we're able to expand on the community together. So the world of cybersecurity, there's a depth of skill, enormous and massive opportunities abound. And of course, we're looking for more capable hands to come into the space to reduce the workload globally now, not just within Nigeria or Africa. I mean, it's a global village. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kolawole. So that's the call to action. GRC needs everyone. We need people in that space also. All right, till the next time. Bye.
All right. Thank you.